Beware of this false teaching, because it is wrong down to the final dot on the I. Truly, truly, I say to you, humans were never perfect in spirit, and thus they have never fallen away from creation. The spirit of each person is created specifically for the task of perfecting itself and gaining wisdom. This is so as to become one with creation as destined by the laws, whereby creation grows and expands within, and thus perfects itself. And as the spirit within a person is a unity, so is creation a unity within itself, and no other powers exist besides it. Within itself, creation is pure spirit and therefore infinite power, because it is one within itself, and nothing exists outside of it. Therefore, beware of the false and adulterated future teachings that will insult me when they call me the Son of Creation and the Son of God. From these false teachings, lies will be spun, and because of them the world will suffer much deprivation and misery. Pay no attention to the erroneous future teachings which will endeavor to combine the spirit and creation and me into one, creating from them a threefold entity, which in turn should be a unity again. Beware of these false and adulterated teachings of the future, because a trinity is impossible according to the logical laws of creation. Truly, I say to you, the princes suppress their people, and the mighty use violence against them. Similarly, the forthcoming religious sects will use violence when they adulterate my teachings and disseminate them. So beware of them and do not permit yourselves to be forced into carrying the yoke of these false teachings. But this does not have to happen to you. Instead, you should be great and learn and teach the truth. As I have come to teach truth and knowledge among the people, so you should keep on reaching, in order that the truth may indeed prevail. Chapter 22. Entry into Jerusalem. As they approached Jerusalem at Bethphage near the Mount of Olives, Jmmanuel sent forth 2 of his disciples and said to them, Go into the village that lies ahead, and forthwith you will find a female donkey tied to a post and a foal with her. Undo her and bring her to me, because she is a present to me and is only temporarily being kept there at the stable. And if anyone questions you, say, Jmmanuel of Nazareth needs her. And right away he will let you have her. The disciples went there and did as Jmmanuel had told them. They brought the female donkey and the foal, and they laid their clothes on the old animal, and he mounted it. When the people heard that Jmmanuel, the King of Wisdom, was coming, they spread their clothes on the path. Others cut branches from the trees and scattered them on the path. And the people who walked ahead of him and those who followed him shouted and said, Hail to the descendant of David! Praise be to him who comes to proclaim anew the teachings of truth. And when they entered Jerusalem, the whole city became excited and asked, Who is it that's coming? The people replied, It is Jmmanuel, the prophet from Nazareth in Galilee, who brings anew the teachings of truth. Purging of the temple. Jmmanuel went into the temple in Jerusalem and became furious when he saw that traders, vendors, dove merchants and money changers had established themselves there. Jmmanuel was very upset and said to them, It is written, the temple is to be a place of teaching and a place of contemplation, but you make it into a den of thieves. In his anger he overturned the tables of the money changers and the chairs of the dove merchants, and he drove them all out with a donkey driver's whip. And the blind and lame came to him in the temple, and he healed them all. But when the chief priests and scribes saw the great deeds he was performing, and the people as they shouted in the temple, saying, Hail to the descendant of David, they became indignant. When they asked him, Do you hear what these people are saying? Jmmanuel said to them, Are you so afraid of the truth that it angers you? And he left them there and departed from the city for Bethany, where he stayed overnight. Back in Jerusalem. And when Jmmanuel returned again to the temple and taught, the chief priests, scribes, and the elders of the people came to him and asked, By what authority are you doing these things, and who gave you the authority? But Jmmanuel answered, saying to them, L2, want to ask you a question, and if you answer it, I will tell you by whose authority I am doing everything. Whence came the baptism of John? From creation or from men? They pondered the question and spoke among themselves. If we say it was through creation, then he will reply, why don't you trust in it? And why aren't you following its laws? But if we say it was through men, then we must fear the people because they consider John a prophet. And so they answered Jmmanuel, saying, we don't know. Thereupon he replied to them, you brood of snakes and vipers, neither will I tell you by whose authority I act. But what do you think? A man had 2 sons and went to the first one and said, my son, go and work today in the vineyard. He answered, saying, yes, father, I will go. Yet he did not go. So he went to the other son and said, my son, go and work today in the vineyard. But he answered and said, don't want to do it, and therefore I will not go. However, he soon felt remorse and went. Now I'll ask you, which of the 2 did the will of the Father? And they said, the latter, of course. But Jmmanuel spoke to them, truly, truly, I say to you, the publicans and prostitutes will recognize the wisdom of knowledge before you do. John and the prophets came to you and taught you the right way, and you did not trust them, but the publicans and prostitutes did trust them. And although you recognized it, you nevertheless did not do penance and change your mind, so that you would trust them from that time on. You know the truth, and yet you deny it in order to profit in gold, silver and the goods, and enrich yourselves at the expense of the poor, misguided people. You mislead and exploit them in the name of the faith. But listen to another parable about a vineyard, and perhaps you will understand, if you have not lost your minds. There was a lord of a large property who planted a vineyard, built a fence around it, and dug a cellar therein. He built a tower, leased the vineyard to vine dressers, and left the country. When the time for the great harvest arrived, and with it the payment of the lease, he sent his servants to the vine dressers so that they would collect the lease payment due him. The vine dressers seized his servants, beat one, tortured the other, and stoned to death the third one. Again the Lord sent out other servants, more this time than the first. However, the vine dressers treated them the same way as they did the servants before. Finally he sent the son of his administrator to them and said, they will be afraid of the administrator's son. But when the vine dressers saw the son of the administrator, they spoke among themselves, this is the heir, come, let's kill him and take over his inheritance. They seized him, pushed him out of the vineyard and killed him, so they thought. While presuming him dead, they put him in a tomb where he remained in a state of near death for 3 days and 3 nights, and then he fled. Thereupon he returned to the Lord of the vineyard and reported to him,